So today's mentoring session, we're going to be talking about door knocking and the different things that we want to do in door knocking. First, the purpose of door knocking is to literally go knock on a door in a neighborhood. But what you want to do is you want to target the neighborhood that you want to actually door knock. So some people assume it's their home neighborhood, but that's not always necessarily true. For instance, I love my neighborhood. I love my house, but I've got dreams that are a little bit bigger than that. So I door knock a higher price point. And so I don't actually door knock in my neighborhood. That's okay, because then I'll door knock in other neighborhoods and work that. And that's just what I do. So you can pick a neighborhood and actually choose which one you want to work. Now, mind you, some neighborhoods, some are very open and it's easy to go up door knocking. Other neighborhoods, they'll have like security gates and then you can't get in. So mind you, you may pick a neighborhood that if it's too much like that, it may be a little bit difficult to kind of crack that one. So it just depends. Speaking of gates, people have different opinions. Like for us, my home, we have a block wall and wrought iron fencing, and it's pretty much very welcoming. Nobody ever, because it's short, it's about 4 feet high max. So it's like, oh, okay. So people come to our door all the time and it's not a problem. But there's other homes when I've door knocked and it doesn't look necessarily that inviting. For me, I kind of looked at it and realized these people don't want anybody coming to their door. That's how come they did it all this way. And I don't know if this would be a good door to door knock. Other people I know that have done this, they're like, don't care. I'm going to go in and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if they don't like it, that's tough. So that's up to your own choosing, which one you feel comfortable with. However, don't let your comfort level drive you. You have to be reasonable, not let it be your comfort level. For instance, your comfort, if we always cater your comfort, you're going to be not growing. You're just going to do what's comfortable and you're not going to push yourself. So there's times when I've been door knocking, I've seen some homes, I'm like, I'm not so sure. Nope, I'm going to go up, I'm going to do it. For me, it was only homes that it looked like, oh no, this is not going to be a good thing if I go in. And so, it was that way. Or, the fences are like 8 feet high with hedges and it looks like a prison almost. And I'm like, yeah, this is probably not the place I want to enter into. But I would push myself and I would go up to, people's homes and I would go ahead and have a conversation and do that sort of thing. An assumption that some people make is that I'm bothering them. Well, if you approach them like you are bothering them, then you are. We have people that come to our door all the time. In fact, I live on a corner, so we're an easy target for which street somebody's trying to work, and we get people coming to the door and talking to us all the time. And sometimes it is that kind of like, yeah, I don't really need to talk to you. Other times, though, it just depends on the approach. So that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today is when you're door knocking, how do you approach it? If you come across as somebody who you're wanting to get to know the neighborhood, you want to be a resource to people, you want to help people, well, then that's a totally different approach than I literally have had realtors come to my door and say, hi, we've just sold a home down the street. Do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell? No, not really. Okay, well, if you know anybody, let me know. And they hand the card. That's really probably going to go nowhere with anyone, as opposed to talking about maybe the homes that have sold in the neighborhood. Oh, well, what things do you like about the neighborhood? And we're going to go over that in a second, but it's your approach. It's how you come across. Another thing is practice makes perfect. So you just want to practice it, which means you're going to have to do it. And if you want to, you probably should kind of just practice it a little bit to yourself or with a partner before you actually go out on the streets. But there's nothing going to be like real world experience and just going out there and going out and, talking to people. For me, door knocking was one of those. I thought I wasn't going to like it just because I'm going up to people and I felt like it was going to be a barrier. And it was pretty much the opposite. I really enjoyed it. And there was a lot of things I started picking up as I was doing it that really made a difference. Now, I am not the end all of everything in real estate, but I can tell you that I've been reviewing some other people's door knocking techniques and even their scripts, and a little bit off base on some of it. Some of it I had out there close-ended questions. Well, do you like this neighborhood? Yes, no. Oh, that's not good. You know, those were some of the questions. Do you know anybody who would like to sell or move? And that was like the first thing they're starting off with. You know, and there was a number of things that I was like, that's probably not the best approach. Sometimes it would come up and they would just it would be really strong. And depending on the neighborhood, you know, depends on how that works. Mind you too, a lot of times when you research this stuff, this is stuff that, let's say you go into the Keller Williams database or just do a Google search, you're looking at stuff that's nationwide in all different demographics. So what works well in one neighborhood may not work well in another. Another example of that is when I was selling a condo in around Cedars-Sinai, I went door knocking on a Saturday. And so it was to let everybody know we had a listing coming up, and it was to kind of get to know the neighborhood and do exactly what we're talking about, seeing if there's any sellers or buyers too that may be potential. As I'm doing it, I had somebody say to me, well, wait, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I have a condo that is coming up on the market for sale. No. Today's a holy holiday. I can't talk to you about any business today. So I got my first lesson that on a lot of the Jewish holy holidays, you don't go out and door knock in certain neighborhoods because they don't talk business on those days, and which I can respect, but at the time I didn't know that, and that was a learning experience for me. So that's a little bit of what we're going to start off with. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. So some of it is just the door knocking scripts, because let's face it, when you're talking about door knocking, this is going to be one of the primary things you're going to do is talk to people. So what are you going to talk about? And I need my big coffee mug today. So just FYI. So if you come to the door and the first thing you talk about is real estate, again, that's one of those things that people are not always that open to and doesn't start that conversation. And I've said this before, and I'll say this many, many times again. Most people, it takes an average of 9 to 10 years for them to buy or sell a home. So if you're talking to somebody in year number 5, you're a little ways from when they're going to need you. But if you start up a conversation and you have a relationship with this person, when that time comes around, that's when you'll be ready to do something. Now, sometimes you can strike gold and somebody is thinking about moving or buying right at that moment. But the percentage of people that will be coming up as opposed to the people that are right in the moment is much greater. So sow the business seeds for tomorrow as well as sowing the business seeds for today. The people that are ready to do something today, you're going to get to that anyway. But by starting off a conversation and starting to create that relationship, you're also building those seeds that will lead to something more for tomorrow. For instance, the first home I sold was in Miracle Mile area, and I got to know the neighbors all very well. And even during the open houses, after the home sold, I was still working that neighborhood and I was still door knocking and so on. By the way, not my home neighborhood, but I worked it. And I got to know the neighbors really, really well. And I've kept in touch with them. So I am trying to sow the seeds there that in case any of those people get ready to buy or sell, that I will be the one that they will talk to. Many of them, as you guys know, I'm a senior specialist, and all the ones I'm thinking right now, top of mind, they're all in their senior years. So it may be one of those things that they have a need that comes up. And so then because I've kept in touch with them, that will go ahead and pay off. So one of the things I've learned that really helps is complimenting something about the home. And I've said this before, and sure enough, when I was looking up other people who've done door knocking, the first 5 of these I didn't create. I literally copied and pasted because this is what they used all the time. And I use similar things. You know, I love the way you designed your garden. Oh, you know, I love that you have these kind of flowers. I love your roses. I I love the way, your entryway just kind of curves as it goes up. I mean, all these different things. I love the color of your house. I've talked before about having colored doors that are different than the trim of the house. For instance, we have a red door on our house. And so whenever I see anybody's red door on their house, I always point that out. Oh my gosh, I love the fact you guys have a red door. We have a red door as well. Or if they have a yellow door, I love the fact you have a yellow door. We have a red door, and I just love doors that are a different color and they really stand out. All those different things. And of course, I've got 2 dogs. And if I notice people do have their dogs, it's like, wow, your dogs are so cute. What are their names? That's almost the first thing I start off with. What are their names? Oh, what breed are they? I start asking about their animals. If they have pets, they're interested in their pets. And so that's what you're going to do. If something is important to them, then recognize it. People live in their home, and their home reflects who they are. So the different choices they've made are the different things that will reflect in your conversation. So if you point that out, you're already hitting something they're interested in. As I said, what if they have these great roses? Okay, obviously they love roses, and they have them in their yard. What if they have a great shade tree? What if, all these different things. For myself, I live on a corner, so we have 3 jacaranda trees on our parkways, and we love our jacaranda trees. So if you were to come up to me and talk about them, that'd be easily something I'd engage in conversation with you. So that's one of those things that will really help. But know that when I mentioned that we have people constantly coming to our door. When people are coming to your door, I see someone, and sure enough, I ask these questions. And this came from another realtor too. The questions are, who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing on my porch? And when are you going to leave? So, it's not rude. It's like, literally, that's what people are thinking. So this is when you can use some of these scripts. Hi, my name is Rob, and I'm a neighborhood agent with Keller Williams. I only have a minute, but would like to quick review the market research we've done home values in your neighborhood. Okay, that's fine. And that's good. The key point to take away from that one is you're saying, I only have a quick minute. So they know the conversation is not going to cost them a lot of time, so they're more likely to engage. When I have some people come to my door, and I can tell by their first statement that this is going to be a long, drawn out conversation, I will find a reason to get out of the conversation. I just will, because I've got things to do and I don't need to be drawn into something for a while. You could also say something where, if you wanted to be not quite as aggressive talking about real estate initially, you can say, hi, my name is Rob, and I'm a neighborhood agent at Keller Williams. I'll be super brief. I'm going around the neighborhood to introduce myself and be a resource to anybody in any way possible. In fact, I have blah, blah, blah. And you could have anything with you. You could have a market report. You could have your business card. You could have something cute like a pop-by. Again, this is that time of year where people are super open to that stuff. So you have something that says how sweet it is that you're my client, and you have a little mini candy cane on top of it. Bingo. That costs you hardly anything. It just costs you to buy the candy canes, and those you can buy. I saw a huge bucket at Walgreens for like $2.99. And you can just pass those things out. People then are open to that. By the way, that's the same thing as when you first start off the conversation, door knocking, and you compliment something about the home, having something to give to them like that too, and especially if it's a little bit fun or informative or both, then that allows that conversation to continue, and people are more open to that. When I get cold stuff, I mean, people can hand me a beautiful brochure, and it's been bound. And by the way, I made this mistake when I first started door knocking and doing a lot of real estate. I made sure my materials were spectacular. Well, we see spectacular materials all the time. So people don't really care as much about that. But what if there's something personal to it? What if there's something fun to it? Those are the things I remember and notice. I'm like, oh, that I definitely remember. So that's the kind of thing that will stand out to people. So again, if you're having a conversation, getting to know somebody, you give somebody cute like that, that can really help. At least it's really worked well for me. Now, do people shut you down? Yes, they will. That's not something you take personally. That's something that it's about them. And by the way, it may not even be a negative thing. I can think of a few people that closed the door, they weren't interested, and I have no idea what's going on the other side of the door. So not for me to judge. I'll just move on, because not everybody is going to be open at the time that I'm approaching the home. Think about it. When you're home, is every minute of every day going to be a time where, oh, somebody comes to your door and you want to talk to them? No, it could be something serious has happened and they're dealing with that. They may be in the middle of trying to handle their kids. I'll be really open here. There's been times I've really had to go poop and somebody came to my door, and I'm not going to tell them that, but I'm like, we are not having a long conversation here because I got other things to do. So you don't know what's going on the other side of the door. I can literally think of only one person who came to my door and I'm like, oh, dude, you have problems, because he just became immediately irate. Okay, that was one person out of everybody I've door knocked. So not a big deal. And that's not going to be my focus. My focus is going to be the things I can accomplish and the people who do answer the door and I am able to have a conversation with. Again, mindset. What you focus on expands. So focus on that, because you want that to expand. So you can continue the script, something like this. And I put this together, by the way, this whole script thing, because not every script is going to go exactly how the script plays out. So if you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden the conversation moves in another direction and it's a good direction, then go in that direction. You don't have to stay so focused on what it is. Now, if you can tell this person has a short amount of time and they're not going to give you any more time, then you want to be a little bit on point. But what if they start talking more about things? I've mentioned before that I've door knocked this one home that's in Whittier, and these ladies had a pomegranate tree. So when I door knocked, I said, oh my gosh, that is so cool. You have a pomegranate tree right in your front yard. We started talking about the pomegranate tree and they wanted to chit chat, and that was not a problem. So I got to know more. I got to, understand like, hey, this is what's going on and so on. Now, as you're going through all of this and you're door knocking and you're beginning to find out more information, where are you going to store that information? Because you're gathering this all from one person that fortunately is talking to you and you're having a great conversation with. So for me, I happen to be somebody, I like having a little notebook with me. And then I'll just jot notes in the notebook, and that makes it really easy. And it looks, if you have a little professional notebook, it's totally professional, so it looks fine. Other people I know, they can do it on their phones. It doesn't matter to me, that's for you. But the idea that you're taking notes on the different people that you're talking with and you're getting information from, that's the key thing. That's the takeaway that you want. So some of the continuation of your script can be something in the lines of, I'm not sure this, by the way, here it says, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the house sold around the corner at blah, 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 and it sold for blah, blah, blah. Well, Rob, do you just make that up? No, you look this stuff up ahead of time. Okay. So if you're going to go door knocking and you want to talk about any stats, just look it up. You can just look up and see, well, what has sold in the neighborhood? What is for sale in the neighborhood? What has gone under contract? All of those different things, you can just mention that at the beginning. Then what you can say is what this means to you is that now there's a number of qualified buyers who are not buying a home and they want to buy in this neighborhood. The house went for sale, especially in this market. If the house was priced right, the house probably did sell pretty well. So I have a lot of people, this kind of refers to, I have a lot of people that want to know how much their home is worth. Do you want to be on that list? There's a key reason why it's phrased this way. And by the way, this was all copied and pasted from somebody else because I like the way that they put this together. Did you want to be on that list? Because if they say no, that creates that FOMO, fear of missing out. That creates that, oh, a lot of people are getting information on how much their home is worth and they are not. Now, they may not be serious about buying a home or selling their home either. So if I'm stating this, if they state that right now, don't think like, oh my God, it's a lead and they're going to go ahead and sell their home in a month. Doesn't mean that, but it does mean that they're interested and that they want to go ahead and give you their information. So you go ahead and contact with them. It also gives you the ability to have a deeper relationship with that person. So you can stay in contact. So you can send them things. If they just send you and give you an email and then that's it, great. Now you can put them on a drip campaign too, that just bi-monthly, monthly, sends them information about you, sends them information about whatever you want to put in your newsletter, however you want to set that up, that's to you. But those are the things that you can do to follow up with that person. But by phrasing it, do you want to be on that list stating, first, you're making a statement, hey, here's all the things that other people are doing. Do you want to be on that list? Do you want to be included? What you're creating there is the fear of missing out. And do they or don't they? Another question you can have, if you want it a little bit shorter and sweeter, is, by the way, the home on 123 Main Street sold recently. Who do you know that wants to move into this area? Again, that's an open-ended question. The what, who, when, where, why, and how. So by asking an open-ended question allows you to dig deeper into the relationship, because they're going to start talking about who do they know. Now, they may not know anyone, but at least allows them to have something to say or contribute. Remember, also, people want to have a conversation. So when you ask a closed-ended question, do you know of anybody who wants to move in the area? Yes, no. And that's kind of about it. And it doesn't give them the opportunity to talk that much beyond that. So even when you say, who do you know, not only is it more open-ended where you can get more information, but it kind of gives them that mutual respect of, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you want to contribute. You could also change that easily to, by the way, we just sold this home on Main Street, or this home sold, doesn't mean you had to sell it. You could just say this home sold. And I was really curious, what things do you like about this neighborhood? Because that home sold really quick. You're still asking an open-ended question. What things do you like about this neighborhood? And you can ask a number of questions like, oh, how has the neighborhood changed over the years? How long have you lived here? All of those questions are open-ended questions and allows people to talk more about that. If you strictly want to work a neighborhood where a home was just listed, then you can do that too by just listing. But as you can see, as I'm putting this together, scripts are endless. It's not like, oh, there's only 100 scripts to door knock, and here's a list of 100, and this is the only way they are. A script is simply words put together. So there's an endless possibilities. These are more just the ideas of, if you want to create your own script, go ahead. I've done that before. There's a lot of scripts I've created myself. In fact, the idea of me complimenting somebody when I went to go to people's homes, that just came naturally. And then that became part of my script. But that was something that I didn't read somewhere to do. It just became one of those natural things for me. So a just listed would could be, hi, I'm John with Keller Williams. We just put your neighbor's home on the market on 123 Main Street up for sale. Did you notice that it was now on the market? Now that's an open-ended, that's closed, but that just asks, did you know? And that's okay in that instance. And then, you wait for a response, and then you could say, oh, okay, great. Because see, if they say yes or no, it kind of doesn't matter. You're not dismissing them, but it doesn't matter whether they knew it or whether they didn't. It allows you then to go on and talk about the next thing. Great. Because on blah, 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 and you can say as a realtor, as a neighborhood realtor, and you can put anything in there. So again, you put it the way you need to. We do everything we can do to get homes sold. And we know that the ultimate purchaser of a home is often a friend, family member, acquaintance of someone that already lives in the neighborhood. So do you know, and this is where I actually don't like this wording, do you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell it near in the future? And I left this in here on purpose because that way we can talk about this some. You could put, who do you know? That's all you have to change it to. Who do you know that could buy or sell in the neighborhood? And then that'll go ahead and change that for you. And very similar to that, if a home sold in the area, you could say, I'm proud to say that we just sold a home in, your neighbor's home, blah, blah, blah. Well, what if he didn't sell it? No big deal. Hey, I just thought I'd let you know that the home over on 123 Main Street just sold, but now we have a problem. We generated so much interest in marketing, or so much interest was generated in marketing that there's several interested home buyers that also want to live in your neighborhood. So we're reaching out to all the neighbors to see if anyone else is looking to sell their home in the near future. that asks more like, okay, do you know of anyone? But it also allows you to, even if you want to segue, you can do that easily as well, or you could just put it in there, because I know a lot of people know who likes, who wants to move into certain neighborhoods. You know, people, when people do live in a neighborhood, they'll have other people talk to them. Oh, I like that neighborhood. Oh, I like this. Oh, I'd like to live on your street. You know, there's a number of things they can bring up. We actually get that in our neighborhood a lot, because we're off of two major streets that are parallel, and then one pretty major street that crosses both of them. And the thing we always get is, wow, your neighborhood is really quiet. And we're like, yeah, it really is. You know, our neighborhood overall is really quiet, and it's in a great pocket, yet we have everything around us that we need. So I have people that have talked to me and have said, hey, if you know of anyone, you know, anything that's coming up, please let me know. But you're just asking the same question there. Overall, what you want to do is, your initial approach is, you want to keep all your interaction with these people short and sweet. Again, you're coming up to their home and you're initiating a conversation. You also want to set the tone. If the first time you have a long conversation with somebody, and then and you knew that they're like not super open to that long conversation, then, and I get this all the time, I'll see people that come to my door or call on my phone, and I'm like, oh, nope, they're going into voicemail, because I know it's going to be a long conversation and I don't want to talk to them again. I don't want to invest that much time. Whereas some people I know, if it's going to be a short conversation, I'm like, oh yeah, let me take this call because I know it's going to be short and sweet. So your first impression, you want to be that too, unless you think it feels comfortable to continue the conversation. Just like I mentioned, the two ladies that had the corner home with a pomegranate tree, as I started talking to them, they started opening up about things. They started talking about the neighborhood a little bit. They started talking about other things. So I knew, okay, these people are fine by me continuing the conversation. And I think the first time I was at their house, I was there 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, we had, you know, quite a bit of conversation. And as soon as I walked away, I kind of went out of eyesight of the home, and I took out my pad and I was writing notes like crazy. But that was one, it kind of felt okay. There's other people I've come to a home and I can tell they're a little bit hesitant. So I keep it short and sweet, because the next time I come back, then they're more open to me interacting with them. Also, I'm going to talk about this a little later. Follow-up is a big part of that, because then it also lets them be more open to you following up with them. And you can also close if you want to close. Let's say you haven't gotten their information, you know, you don't know who they are. You can easily, you know, just bring that up. Hey, thank you so much for your time. By the way, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? And then they can tell you. I would love to keep in touch with you, even just to get your insights about the neighborhood. I've said that before, and that one has worked well. You're saying a couple of things with that. One is that you're wanting to stay in touch with the neighborhood. So you're not just somebody coming in and leaving. You're letting you know that your intentions are, you plan to be part of the neighborhood. Another part of it is you value their input and their insight, and you want to know that. And that means a lot to people. When people, you know, when you're told that your insight, your information, your perspective, all of that stuff is important, you appreciate that. Well, you're doing the same thing by saying it there. And then by asking, well, what is the best way to reach you? And then that way you can find out either their email address or their phone number. Sometimes they'll give you one, sometimes they'll give you both. Sometimes you got to figure that out. And again, this is where you have to use your judgment. And if you get where just one, they're like, okay, I can give you my email address. If they answer like that, I'm not asking for their phone number, because I'm like, oh, I'm pushing it if I ask for the phone number. If they're like, sure, no problem, I'll give you my email address. Oh, okay, and they write it down. By the way, any possibility I get your phone number, I would love just to, at times, just give you a text or something like that, just to say hello. Sure, you know, because you kind of can feel what direction it's going in. Again, these scripts are, you not only want to write your own, you want to internalize these scripts. At the same time, you want to go ahead and tailor it for the moment. Is there a lot of time? How comfortable the other people are? And then that lets you know which way to go. Years ago, when I first started in real estate, there was a real estate trainer that would say, oh, by the way, do you just have a minute? And then she would go on and be like, and initially I thought, oh, that's brilliant, because it just is like, do you have a minute? But then her idea was, oh, okay. And by the way, I have another question. And by the way, I have another question. And when she started doing that, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. Because I've had people do that to me. Oh, just one more question, just one. And then I'm like, okay, now you're lying to me, because you're just one more question, or at the very minimum, you're not going to follow through with just one more. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, let me shut this down. And again, that's when, if you try and contact me in the future, maybe I don't want to talk to you, because you're just 1 minute, just one more question, it's still going to go on and on forever. Where if somebody says, hey, just one more question, or can I have just one more minute, then that, and they keep to that, then I'm like more open. Oh, sure, not a problem. For instance, my investor contractor, Mark, is very much that way. He's like, Rob, do you have a couple of minutes to talk on the phone? Sure. I call him up. Literally, our conversation never goes more than 3 minutes, because he said, you have a couple of minutes, and he sticks to it. We talk about what needs to be talked about. We're both good. We move on. As opposed to other people that sometimes call me on the phone. Like I said, I'm like, oh, they're going into voicemail, because I do not have time to chit chat. If they've already given the name, then you just insert it right in there. Thank you so much for your time, Leslie. This was so enjoyable. I would love to keep in touch with you. And then you do the same thing, even just for insights in the neighborhood. What is the best way to reach you? And then you can find out one way or another. Now, let's say they don't want to give you any of their contact information. It's still not a lost cause. Far from it. You've had a conversation with them. You've answered the door. You've interacted with these people. Yay. So at that point, send them a thank you card or a note. It could literally just be a thank you card, or it could be a little note card, but thank them for the time, and if you took notes, which you should have, if you took notes on your interaction, put something in the thank you card about that. And we're all in busy lives, so even remind them what it may be too. So you could easily put in the thank you card something to the effect of, hey, thank you so much for talking to me the other day. Thank you so much for talking to me last week, whatever. I would not put in yesterday, because remember, if you mail this, it's probably going to get to them a few days later, just to point that out. But you could put, thank you so much for talking to me on Monday. I really appreciated the conversation and the insights to the neighborhood, comma, I didn't realize that there were so many great hiking trails in the area, period. I'll be sure to check them out. Looking forward to helping you in any way I can. And then put your name and put your card in there. So you've done a few things. One is you've thanked them for their time. People appreciate when you acknowledge that their time is valuable and you're thanking them for that. You talked that you enjoyed the conversation. You put in something in there that you remembered from the conversation, which tells them that you're interested in them, that what they had to say was important, so much so that you're able to reiterate it. You're also triggering their memory. What if they don't remember who you are? Let's be honest. There's been a lot of times somebody's handed me their business card and it either didn't have a photo, or worse, it had a photo from when they graduated from high school and it's 20 years later, and sunshine, they look nothing like that. So a lot of times you may get their business card and like, I don't remember this person. But if you trigger something in the conversation, oh yeah, that's right, I remember talking to this person. That allows you to do that. The other thing you're doing at this point is you're letting them know they were important enough that you took out time to send some sort of card, a thank you card or a note card or something to that effect. Because that's one of those things that people realize, like, oh, okay, if everything is just in the moment, where you go ahead and you just door knock and you talk to the person and you leave, and then the next time you talk to them again when you door knock, that's fine, except that means that the only time that person you want to interact with, or say take any time of energy with them, is when you're at their door, when it's opportunity for you. However, you do something like a follow-up, and if you, by the way, get an email or a phone number, what I'll do is, even as I'm still walking, I will send them from my phone a text or an email thanking them for their time. Then I'll also send them a note card separately too, because people appreciate that. People really do appreciate that. And you're going above and beyond what most people do. And people take notice of that. That's something that also means a lot. Plus, if you come back to the neighborhood, which if you're door knocking and working in a neighborhood, you're supposed to, but if you come back to a neighborhood and you door knock on the same door and they answer the door, now it's going to be much easier to have that conversation. I've done that where people have been like, oh yeah, we got your card. Thank you so much. You know, let's say you door knock 2 weeks later. Oh, thank you. You know, that was really cute. You know, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, it was really great talking to you. I had a great time talking with you. I was just coming through the neighborhood again, you know, just to check up on everybody and see what's going on. What has changed since last time you and I have talked? And you could just have a conversation. You've already established the first time you door knocked a lot of the basic things, and then you can go on and have a conversation. And then it's very easy to work in that script at that point where you can easily say, so as you know, I'm a neighborhood realtor, and do you know of anybody who's, I know it's been 2 weeks, but you know of anything that's changed? Anybody who may have wanted to move in or anybody needed to sell their home? And anything I can help with, just let me know. You know, that would be great. Those are the sort of things people appreciate. Another thing, you can work into any of these scripts at any time when you're talking about being a resource. When you just say, well, I want to be a resource in any way possible, and you haven't stated what those resources are, a lot of people have no idea what that even means. So you could put in there, hey, and by the way, if you need anybody at all, that could be, you know, like a plumber, a contractor, a tax preparer, a CPA, any resources like that, please let me know. You could even segue that into what, please let me know. Do you have any needs like that? And then that lets them answer that question. Or who do you use? And that's one that can even be, this is one where you have to use your judgment. If you feel the conversation is going okay, but they're not completely open to you, you know, sort of thing, then you may want to just temper that a little bit. And then you could, you know, you tell them being a resource and you explain to them what that means. You know, hey, do you need anybody for plumbing, for contracting, for painting, anybody to help you with your taxes, any of those sort of things? Please let me know if there's any way. Could you do that? You know, or would you be open to that, or anything like that? That's okay. And you're not pushing too far. If you feel the conversation's gone really well, then you can even change that to more of an open-ended question, and you can put in there, oh, who do you use for your plumber? Who do you use for that? You know, and if they tell you, oh, okay, because I have a great person in the neighborhood, I have a great person for that. So that allows you, you know, to kind of open up and have a resource like that. Okay, so right now I covered a lot of stuff in the past 40 minutes. Any questions on this so far?
Rob, I have a question.
Sure.
So I saw the email about door knocking on Friday. Are there any weekend ones or no?
You
Like
can door knock
specifically?
whenever you want. We just
Oh
don't have
yeah,
it scheduled right now.
okay.
And the reason why I chose a Friday is, you know, as even before COVID happened, Fridays, a lot more people were home than what you normally would expect. A lot of people, their work weeks have changed, and, you know, they're doing 10-hour days. And then on Friday, they get a 3-day weekend. A lot of people have work from home. And so, especially on Fridays, they tend to be home more than any other day. I know for me personally, that when I go into the office on a Friday, I will camp out until late because I do not want to fight that traffic coming home. So I tend to not go in the office on Friday just to avoid that. So you're going to find a lot more people at home on a Friday. And that's why I kind of hit on that. And people, a lot of times, they're still in their routine. So they tend to be a little bit more available. Where on the weekends, it's a little hit and miss. You know, it just depends on the weekend. But by no means does it mean you can't door knock on the weekend. It just, I chose this Friday also because the earlier in the holiday season, the better. So you're bringing up a really good point there, Nara. If you were to door knock on December 23rd and you tell yourself, well, Christmas Eve is tomorrow, so that's fine. People should be available. Well, wake up sunshine. That's not the case. I know on the 23rd, I am busy. I am gearing up. I'm getting things ready, and taking the extra time to chat with somebody at my door is probably not going to be something I'm open to. So understand that sort of thing. Also, another thing I want to point out is the hours to door knock will range depending on the time of year. And again, this is one in some of the materials that I was doing a lot of research for. Nobody really pointed it out, because if you're in, let's say you're in Washington State, when it is, let's say during the summer, it could be 9 p.m. and it's still daylight because of, you know, the way the sun is during that time of year. Whereas it could be during the winter, it could be 3 p.m. and it's dark. So their door knocking times would be different, because let's face it, if you go to somebody's door and it's dark out, it has a different connotation. It feels a little bit weird. And for safety purposes for you as well, I would be concerned. So I only door knock during daylight hours. And there's been times I've door knocked and it's like hitting 5:30 and the sun is beginning to set. And I even know, like, oh, that's my trigger. I've got probably 10 more minutes. And then it's going to start to get to that weird time of day where people are like, why are you door knocking at this time? So you want to optimize your hours when you door knock as well. And you know, you use your judgment. If you were to door knock at, let's say, 4 p.m. on a Friday, a lot of people could be home and, you know, not a problem having a conversation. You door knock at 4 p.m. on a Saturday, you may get a different sort of reception, because it's, for a lot of people, it's their day off. They may be in the middle of doing activities, you don't know. So you kind of have to use your judgment. And again, every neighborhood is going to be different. So the demographics of a neighborhood might greatly change. And then that would affect your door knocking as well. Other questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. One of the other things is I'm going to switch and a few script. So I need to go to, do you see door knocking tips at the top?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that was one I was supposed to share. Good. Few things. If nobody's home, it doesn't mean it's a lost opportunity. Just understand, if you, and by the way, these are all copied and paste. I took this from a number of articles and put this together. So these are things that people have done and said that work very well for them. But if you have nobody there, and if you leave something, is that a potential lead? Yeah, because when you door knock next time, that would be, you know, that could be something that could pan out into something. Now, what do you leave is going to be a little bit of a difference. If you just leave your business card, I'll be honest, I get business cards all the time. Rarely do I hang on to it. Now, some people have said, well, their perspective is that, wow, somebody came to my door and knocked on the door, so I'm going to keep that because they took out the extra time and energy. Well, I think that's a nice world to live in. I don't think you're going to find those people a little bit few and far between. But if you leave something with your business card, or you leave something, you know, that will still recognize you, then that can make the difference. So I have, you know, available for the coaching agent, different pop buys, and a lot of them are just cute. They're really, a lot of them are corny jokes in there, or corny puns. And it's the kind of thing that people will remember. So if you put in, like the one that I have out there for the holidays is the one that shows all these candy canes, and it says, you know, how sweet to have a client like you. And, you know, you can give that, and you leave the little candy cane with it. Or, you know, you're like, well, I don't have that many candy canes. Fine, you just leave that little slip in there, and so on. When you come back next time, if your contact information was left with that, by the way, But if you come back next time and you door knock in their home, you can bring that up. It allows something then can be like, oh, you actually have had an initial contact. Oh, you have worked the neighborhood before. So don't think that just because no one's there doesn't mean you can't follow up. And by the same means, once you work in neighborhood, and like I mentioned, the first neighborhood that I door knocked in the Miracle Mile area, once I got to know a lot of the people and in the area, then I would come by, and if they weren't home, I would leave a little note. Hey, with my business card, be like, hey, it's Rob. I came by. I just wanted to check in on you. Hope everything's doing well, blah, 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 blah. And I would just leave it there. And so that way they would know, like, oh, I was there. And a lot of times if I had their email address or their phone number, I would even call and text them at the time. Hey, I was just in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by, left something at your door, you know, just wanted to reach out and say hello. Great. Now you've made a connection. You're now deepening that relationship. The next one, and you can tell, by the way, some of the script is where I copied it, but you want a great script and then you learn it. You learn it very well. So again, put together some things that you think, you can say, and it doesn't have to be a long novel. It's a planned conversation. It's just something that will allow you to have a conversation with someone. But then that'll allow you, the more that you own that script, just to work that in and just to bring those things up. Again, I told you that a lot of my script when I first started was the idea of, oh, well, I love, I would compliment things about their home, and everybody really was open to that. So that's the sort of thing that you can do as well. Again, and that's where I got that list from. The 4 W's. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing on my porch? And when will you leave? Answer those questions, and that will really put people at ease that are kind of wondering, like, well, why are you here? Become a neighborhood expert. So if you were to say, well, right now the neighborhood is really, really hot. And it's like, okay, well, what's going on in our neighborhood? Oh, you want to be the person who can answer that. Or what if you're like, Rob, I can't memorize this. I'm not asking you to memorize. You could also print out, we have, and I send out to the coaching agents all the time, it's one of the links, but the Altos RE report. And what that does is it pulls the latest MLS statistics, and you can look it up by zip code or by city. So let's say you were to look up my hometown, Whittier, and you were just to put in Whittier, it would bring you up all the stats for Whittier: average days on the market, median price on the market, the median house. But Whittier is vastly different depending on the area you live in. And we also have 6 different zip codes. So if you were to put in a particular zip code, it will do it just for that zip code. And then that's the one that you may, if you're working that neighborhood, that's the one then you start handing out, because that will tell people, oh, okay, this is some of the neighborhood stats. You could even point to it. Again, a lot of things, if you have it with you, you don't have to have it memorized. You can just show them, hold it in your hand and show them the information and go right through it with them. But that gives them something that they can have, and then you hand it to them and it's got your information on it. Hey, this is great. By the way, a lot of the stuff I'm saying when you hand out to have your information on, that means that you're going to have to do some prep work. Not only do you need to have a script ready to go, but if you're going to hand anything out and the particular piece that you have is a little generic, well, then it may take a little time for you to personalize it. So when you hand it out, it then becomes actually something you can use. For instance, like I said, the Altos RE report, real estate report, that's one of those that you can personalize it for you, but that may take a little bit of work to do. So take that little bit of extra time and do so. Same thing with the pop-bys that I give to everybody. There's easily a spot in there that you could pop in your name, your contact information, your brokerage, and your BRE number, and just put it in there, just enough to remind somebody. You could even just put it on the back. You could even just staple your business card on the back. Any of those things, yay, but that's going to take a little bit of prep work. What you could do is that actually the next one I needed to edit. So I'm going to be really open there, and we're just going to skip that. Always offer something of value. That is something, like I just mentioned, that could be one of those things that you could have, like the market report. You can have, a guide. As you, all of you know that for the coaching agents, I have a buyer's guide and a seller's guide that's available to everybody, and it's updated quarterly. So what you can do is you can say, oh, I have a guide for that. If you'd want, I can get that to you. You could even have a copy of it with you. And by the way, if you have a copy of it with you and you're saying, oh, I have this guide, and they're like, oh, you know what, this is my copy, but I can go ahead and take your information and send one to you. And then that'll allow you to kind of follow up and create more of that rapport, and possibly get more of their contact information, because what if they want it electronically? Well, then that's easy. You can just send it to them electronically. You could go around, and when you're talking about other people's homes, you can talk about, oh, did you know about this home? Did you know about this? What if you looked up a home on the MLS that was for sale in the area and you noticed something unique about it? You could even just point that out. But then you can also talk about, like, hey, do you know anybody who would like to move into the area? Because everybody wants to pick their new neighbors. And a lot of times it could be your friends or family. You know, you could take that sort of approach. One of the things, and I definitely wanted to get to this, is if you are standing in somebody's doorway, your body language can say a lot. So it always helps to be a little bit farther back, because then you're not as intimidating. You're not in people's space. I know for me, like I have, I call it a postage stamp porch, because literally it's a little, I think it's like 4 foot by 4 foot square porch. And it's got a couple of steps going up to it, and that's it. We don't have the big long porch that goes across our bay window. But if you were to come to my door and you were to stand right in the doorway, I am not, you know, just because I don't know you, just by default, I am not going to get any closer to you because you're already in my doorway. Most people, when they come to my door, they're like right behind the steps. So it's a comfortable distance. It allows the conversation to flow easier, and it's not as intimidating. And remember that a lot of people, they don't know who you are, and a lot of people tend to be a little bit more sensitive to that. So even if you think to yourself, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal, remember, from the other person's point of view, it may be a big deal. Like, for instance, my mother, when she answers the door, she very much makes sure that that she's behind the other side of the door. She kind of, you know, sees who's outside. She takes much more inventory at who's at the door than I do. And it's just because of who we are and our circumstances. Body language really communicates a lot. Don't cross your arms. Don't stand directly in front of someone. That means like really close, you know, sort of thing. You want to be comfortable. You want them to be comfortable. And keep your mindset positive. You know, tell yourself, hey, I am going through, and you can tell yourself, the people who need me, I am here to help them. The people who need me, I am here to help them. So the great thing about even keeping that mindset is, as you're walking through and you're door knocking, if somebody says no, they're not interested, they don't answer the door, you know, all of these different things, that's fine, because you're getting to the people who actually need you, and you'll be able to help them. And lastly, make sure you're prepared for questions. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you have to be the answer to everything, but find a few things that are going on. Like I said, having the market report with you, like from the Altos link, that'll really help. Answer people's questions, or be prepared to get them the answers. Nobody can ever be the library, but you can always be the librarian. And in fact, in many ways, it's better to be the librarian when you're doing this sort of thing, because then you can say, hey, you know what? Let me get you that answer and get back to you. Whenever you do anything like that, it communicates a couple of things. One, you're not just important here in the now, you're important that I'm going to take time and contact you later and follow up with you. It also lets them know, listen, I am going to make sure I get you what you need, whether it's the correct answer, whether it's the best resource, whether it's the best information. I'm going to make sure I give you what you need, and it's the best way, not just something I'm going to spit out right now. And it allows you to follow up. So what if you do find out, you know, like you do have the market stats, and even if you hand it to them now, well, Rob, what kind of follow-up? Well, if you get their phone number or you get their email address, you can even just ask, hey, by the way, did you get a chance to look over some of that information? What questions did you have? And again, keep it open-ended. Not did you have any questions? What questions did you have? That kind of stuff allows you to have follow-up. And again, with follow-up, you're communicating two things. One, that you're actually following up and whatever you're talking about. But two, that person is important enough that you are following up. You are taking time out. You are taking energy out, and you're doing that. So, so here's some of our door knocking things. Any more questions on that as we're wrapping up the hour? Okay. One thing, a few small tips is make sure you're hydrated. And if you plan to do door knocking for a while and you need snacks, just prepare for some of that stuff. If you're the type where you drink a lot of coffee and you have no coffee in the morning, I'm one of those people where I drink a lot of coffee. If I don't have coffee in the morning, I may be dragging. So I need to do my regular routine. But also people tend to get dehydrated when they door knock. So just make sure you're prepared for all that kind of thing as well. And your door knocking time can be the time that you make. So if you want to say, I'm going to door knock for 4 hours, yay. If you want to say, I'm going to door knock for 2 hours, I'm going to door knock for 1 hour, you just want to fit it in. Any of those things, that's one of those things that, you can decide what you're going to do. The more you put into it, the more you get out, but tailor it to what you're planning to do and what's going to best suit you. Thanks for being here. And if you have any other questions about door knocking, let me know and we will cover that in the future. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Rob. Thank you.